Good morning everyone, and this is the first in the series of stamping with the stamping ground. You'll have all received these 3 items along with 4 separate packs of card to make your cards. You will have received the ink, but you'll have this new style one, where mine's the old style one, the Peaceful Cabin and the 2 pens. So if you find your pack which says week 1, that's the one that we'll start on. And don't forget, if you need to ask me anything, you can always message me and I will get straight back to you. It's not a problem, but I'm sure watching the video, I think everything will be pretty straightforward. Well, I hope it will be. Now in your pack, this is what it will look like. We'll just pop these to one side and I'll just go through kind of what we have. With a slimline card. Oops. And we have 2 pieces of grey cardstock, 2 pieces of white and a piece of designer series paper, and a piece of slim white cardstock. You'll also have 2 pieces of white cardstock as well to stamp on, which are these 2 here. And I believe a few of you have already started the Christmas cards and a few of you haven't. So for those that haven't, then well, you're starting today, and maybe it'll just spur you on to make some more. This is the card that we're making, and we are using the cabin and the trees. We have a snowbank inside, wishing you the best. I've put the little fox on there. Apart from this little cloud here, I have used all the stamps somewhere in the 4 cards that we're making, so you can see how we can work with them, and that'll give you ideas for more cards that that you're making. So we're going to start off stamping the cabin, and I'm taking the ink to the cabin rather than the other way around, and we can make sure that it's inked well. If for any reason when you're stamping on your cardstock, if you haven't done it right, or you can always turn it over and stamp on the other side. So that's perfect. Lots of detail on this cabin. I'm just going to give these a wipe before I put them down, and then it doesn't dry on there. Next we're going to stamp up the trees, and we'll do exactly the same. If you prefer to stamp the other way, then by all means do, but at least this way you can see that you've got the ink fully covered on the trees. I just press firmly, and there we are. I think they're beautiful, these trees. Lots of detail. It's a lovely stamp set that we're using, and I think this is a stamp set that it's not just for Christmas. The cabin, obviously, we have cabins all year round. Trees we do. Foxes, I think the only thing that we don't is maybe the inscriptions. And I did say that there was 2 pieces of cardstock in the pack. Well, don't panic, there is there is 3, because we actually need to stamp the trees twice, because we need an extra tree. And anything that you stamp and you don't use, just make a little box. I have a box under my table. I'm not going to show it you because it's full of all little bits that I've never used, or they're extras from cards I've made, but they do come in handy, and sometimes you'll find that you can make a quick card from things that you have left over in your box. Now the pens, we're going to use the lighter one, and we're just going to give it, it's a very, very subtle colour here. We're just going to give it a little colour, and we're not fully covering the trees because we still want it to look like it's got some snow on. So maybe on the two trees that we're not going to use, maybe start there, and if you feel that you've got a little bit too much on or not enough, you can make sure that on the trees that we are using, you do it as you would like it. So it's nice quick colour in this. And then we're going to fussy cut these out along with the cabin as well. And we're going to leave the cabin just grey like this. And what we're going to do when we're fussy cutting the cabin, we're actually just going to leave just a tiny amount of white all the way around. And if you've watched any of my other videos, when I'm fussy cutting, I always tell you to move the paper rather than your scissors, and you'll find that fussy cutting, no matter what or how intricate details you're cutting, you will find it so much easier if you move the card rather than your scissors. I think some people panic when they've either not got dies for the stamp set, or the stamp set doesn't have a die to go with it. And I never used to like fussy cutting because I always felt that it didn't look professional really. However, over the years, you pick up tips along the way, and this was the one that made it so much easier, and now I quite enjoy fussy cutting. So you can see that it's not taking long just to cut this cabin out. And the trees are, you might look at them and think, oh, there's so many ins and outs, but we're not actually going to cut it like that. Just cut that little edge off there. There we are. So on the trees, we're going to cut very, very close. We're not going to leave a line round, and we're actually just going to wiggle on. When I say you shouldn't move your scissors, we're still moving the card, but I was going to say wiggling the scissors, but I'm not. I'm wiggling the card so that we don't have a straight edge. But you're not actually having to go in and out all these little branches. We're actually making our own shape. So it's, again, you can see it's very quick and easy to do. Just going to move that back so I can. And if you feel you need to practice with this, rather than colouring in, just get yourself even a piece of photocopier paper and just stamp the trees out, and just have a little practice before you stamp it onto the card. Now we're just going to add a little bit of the green pen just on the edges just so that you can't tell where we've actually cut round, really. It just disguises it. There, it just looks like it's been cut out with the dies, really. So now we're going to cut this one out, and then we need just one from the other three that we've stamped. So again, wiggle away. I know when I first saw this stamp set in the new catalogue, I thought I need excuse me, I need it. And I did a few cards right at the beginning, and when my daughter-in-law saw them, she put an order in and said, I want you to make me a full set of cards to send at Christmas. She liked it. She liked them that much. Not that I've made them yet, but I will do, because I enjoy, I do enjoy playing with this stamp. There's so many ideas you can get. So on to our last tree now, and I'm just going to cut the small one, I think. Yeah. If you want to change it slightly and add one of the larger ones, by all means do. Or if you make any more cards after you've done this series, you've got little bits and pieces cut out ready to add to your other cards as well. And I love how everything is grey and white. That's why I chose the grey cardstock for one of the layers. And I think just adding a very subtle touch of green just adds more to it as well. So there we are, all our trees and cabin ready for the card. So now it's time to make our snowbank. Let's get my right side, and we're just going to cut a wiggly line, but I've always used the negative space because I always think that's nicer. So we're going to cut very close, about ½ inch up from the bottom, and just wiggle away. We're doing a lot of wiggling today. And when you get to the bottom, if you actually look, I always find that the bit that's been cut off is the better bit. So that's the piece that we're going to use. So I'll just pop these to one side. And then we need to bring back our designer series paper. Just sit it on and make sure you're happy with it. And then what you need to do is cut the snowbank the same width as the designer series paper. It will be better if I turn it the right way. I need to do that again. I've not I didn't cut it the right the right size. So I just need to cut a little bit more off. Just a smidgen. And then what we're going to do now, we're just going to attach this to the designer series paper. But before we do, we're going to stamp on here first. It's easier to make another of these snowbanks, but if we've actually attached it to the designer series paper, we've wasted that as well. So it's always worth thinking about before you attach anything. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat this morning. So this is the fence, and depending which way up, one where the fence is going in and one is where it's pointing out. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. and you can keep turning it round if you want. But just have a practice on a piece of paper first, and then you get an idea of how it works. See, I can't make my mind up now which way I want. I think I'll have it that way. A tiny bit of some sort of paper on there. So starting right at the very edge and up near the top, just go across and stamp three pieces of fence. Lovely. Well, just make sure you wipe your stamps before you finish while the ink's wet. I'm just going to pop the little fox on there. Ink is so sweet. It's a pity there's not some little fox cubs as well. So let's attach this now to our paper. So just add some glue around the edge. A tiny bit in the middle. And just make sure you line it up correctly at the sides and the bottom. There. And then if we get one of our grey matte pieces, turn this over and add glue to the back of here and carefully place it onto the grey, making sure you have an even border. There we are. It's certainly, the grey and white stands out together. Now we need to bring back our cabin and our trees. And what I like to do is pop the cabin where I would like it. So we obviously need to cover the bottom of, well, I like to cover the bottom of the fence. And then add our trees behind so that you're happy with how they look. And it just gives you some idea of what it's going to look like. You can always fiddle about. Oops. You can always fiddle about and reposition them until you're happy. And then pick each one up and pop some glue on. And then just attach it to the card front, making sure you don't get it stuck. Get the other one stuck underneath. And I like to just keep popping the cabin back on to make sure I'm happy where everything is positioned, because I don't want it to look like the trees are kind of balancing in the air. So I like them to be tucked behind the cabin. So just kind of loop where it's positioned at the side of that tree and get this one down. pop my cabin back over to make sure I'm happy with where it is, and I am. And then there's the last one to pop in. And if you were doing this again, if you was, you could actually have some of the trees under the snowbank at the opposite side. There are so many ways that you could add to this card. Now on the back of the cabin, I'm going to add some dimensionals, just to pop the card, to pop the cabin up off the card to make it a more 3D look. So make sure you add plenty of dimensionals on the back. Now these little stickers that we pull off the back of these, well, they seem to get all over the house. It doesn't matter where you go, you will always find one of these little pieces. No matter how careful I am, there's either one on the bottom of my shoe, my slipper, going up the stairs. And I know I'm not on my own. I know lots of people who actually say the same, thankfully. So position your cabin where you want it and just give it a light press. So we're now going to put the inscription onto the middle of the card, and before we attach it to the grey cardstock, we will do our inscription first, because we can easily turn the cardstock over if we make a mistake, but if it's actually attached to the grey, then we can't get it off, and so it's always better if you stamp before you stick anything down. And again, just when you've stamped, just quickly stamp it on a different piece of paper, just to make sure you're happy. You've got it lined up, it's straight, it's not upside down. I mean, if it was upside down, you could actually turn the card, but you're far better if you just have a little practice first. And then I'm just going to add these tiny snowflakes in the corner. It just gives it a little bit more interest again. I'll just pop this ink away. And now we can attach it to the grey cardstock. So this is nearly our first card finished. And I hope you've followed along, and like I say, if you've any questions, anything whatsoever, then please message me. Now we need to take the card base and add the insert, and then we're going to add the card front. And another wiggle. And then just place it in the centre of the card, making sure you've got an even border all the way around. And when you're using liquid glue, you do have a little bit of time just to give it a bit of a move. Now I'm just going to get my bone folder and give that an extra press so that it keeps it flat. So onto the back of the front of the card, pop your glue and do exactly the same, making sure that you've got this card card front central. And just give it a little press, and there we are. So that's our first card done, and I'm sure you'll agree it's a beautiful card, and I'm sure whoever receives this will enjoy it. So I will be back next week, and please message me, and when you've made this, send me a picture, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.